Hi, I'm Link, and I want to show you today how to hook up an hour meter to an EDP 10 pump. Basically what we're doing is we're hooking up the hour meter in parallel with this switch, so when the switch turns the motor on, turns the hour meter on. So you know all the time just how long this thing's been running for all your maintenance needs on the filters and on the vanes. The switch is going to be coming in this box. It's got little attachment screws that you'll need to go with it. We've also got a box we're going to have to extend out because this won't fit in the cavity in the motor the way it is. So obviously we're going to have to move the switch out at the same time. Also going to have to do some electrical work here, make some terminations, tie it up inside. Most important thing, don't have this plugged in when you do this. This is a lot of amps and a lot of volts, and you want to make sure it's unplugged for this activity. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to cut our wires, we're going to have to strip them, and we're going to have to crimp them. You can use one of those all-in-one tools. I just happen to have some good ones, so I'm going to use them. The only screwing you'll have to do here is to remove this cap, put the new ones on. It'll all either be Phillips or standard head screwdrivers. I use one of those universal screwdrivers so I can switch as I need. You'll also have to loosen and tighten this big nut that goes on the switch itself. I happen to have a friend who's got a 9/16 deep well socket. You may not. You may have to take a pair of pliers and turn it a little at a time and unscrew it. It's labor intensive, but you only have to do it once. Remember that. So if we want to move in a little bit closer and take another look at this so you can see more accurately what's happening. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to get the plate and the switch out. Usually you find it a little bit easier to remove the switch first, or at least remove the nut on the front of it, because it's held still when it's sitting here like this. Like I say, I'm the lucky one who's got the deep well socket. If you don't, you'll get there. It'll just take time. Okay, once this has been removed, we'll set this nut and the lock washer off to the side so that we still have it, and now things are loosening up. We'll remove the screws. And we'll save them as well. We're going to be using them later. Although when we put them back in, we're going to be putting them back into different locations. Now we've got our plate, we've got our switch, we've got our connections to make. What we're going to be doing is disconnecting the two yellow wires here on the switch, and we're going to join them in with the new wires we're making ourselves and hook these two wires plus those back together. These two will go to the switch, those two will continue to go to the motor. You'll notice on the front of the switch it looks a little fuzzy. That's a peel away sticker. We'll wait till the end to peel that away to make it look clean. If you're in a harsh environment, you might want to leave it on. Give it a little extra ding and dent protection. First thing we'll do here is we'll go ahead and clip these wires. Again, really important, you're not plugged in at this point. I'll switch over here to a standard screwdriver. And we'll let these terminals come out. And we're going to go ahead and unscrew these completely because we're going to be putting a ring terminal back in its place. And to get through a ring terminal, you can't slide it in from the side. These two little ones can be discarded. Okay, this wire is going to be cut into two pieces, so the simplest thing is to bend it in half, and that'll make the two of them about the same size. All right. Then we're going to put them into these ring terminals. So if you look inside the ring terminal, you can see where the metal part is. You're going to be crimping. The amount you need to strip is about what you'll need to get inside of there. So it's not a whole lot that you need to crimp. So we strip both ends of these. The The opposite end is going to go into a terminal that's similar in length. So we'll strip the same amount at both ends. I'll go ahead and do both wires while I'm at it. And we also have to restrip these because we'd cut them off earlier. Okay, now we'll take these two wires, we'll twist them together. You might want to strip them a little bit longer depending on just how convenient it is to get them in here. We'll insert them into the terminal and then we'll crimp them. You want to be sure that when you insert these in that no copper ends up showing, because that could short out later when we put this whole thing back together. Once crimping is done, we'll pull on the wires, make sure they're tight, nice and snug. While we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and put in the other side of this one, which is a slip-on style terminal. Nice and snug. All right, we'll go back to the other pair, twist them together. Insert them into the terminal. Again, if you're more comfortable with a little more wire, you can. Just make sure it doesn't come out the front side. There we go, nice and snug. All right, now we're going to have to put these terminals back on. The reason they are both yellow is because it really doesn't matter which one goes where. So just think about what's your closest attachment point. Try to have the ring terminal with its back, so to speak, up to the switch. That keeps you electrically as far from the walls as possible, which we want to stay away from the walls to the best of our ability. All right, and take the other one and the other screw. Secure, get them out of the way. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the switch, we're going to attach it into the box. It'll go up on the top. Okay, and we've got, came with it, two little screws and nuts and lock washers. We're going to put the nut and the lock washer on the inside and the screw on the outside. Yeah. Watch yourself on the torque with these. They are small screws. The hour meter itself is kind of a waterproof design, so you don't feel like you're sealing or anything here. You don't have to work too hard at it. All right. Next thing we have to do is we're going to get the box on. The box goes with the two visible holes towards the top being when it's sitting up on its base, and this stuff has to get by it. This is what's going to extend the size of our box so that we can get to it. If you remember, we had the two screws that were in here were in this corner and the lower one. Now we're going to put some screws in the opposite corners. Same ones we took out. They are thread forming screws, and let's see how this fit looks. That's a nice fit. They will make their own threads as they go into those. We'll start with the one on the top, which is a better hole in the box. On the bottom, you just got a partial hole, but it's enough of one to give you some alignment registration. This does two things. One is it helps hold this down and in place, and the other is it helps locate for when we put in the long screws later. It helps locate them in front of the holes they need to go in, because that's kind of a blind assembly, and you'll be glad these are in there. And you can snug them up. All right, now we got to mount the switch back onto the plate. In this case, we've got the old plate's got a little rivet. We go ahead and pull that out. We don't need the rivet on this assembly. Because we've added some new terminals and because we've got a new box, we've got an insulator tab that we put over it. It has a hole in the middle. It's got some lines that kind of show you where to bend. They just bend around the outside. All right. If you look at the orientation, the switch itself has a groove in it. The plate has a little raised finger to go in that groove. So does the on-off switch. So that's going to the downside, so we'll keep that on the downside. We'll run the box with the insulator bent on it. We'll put that on. And keep that aligned. We'll start this on. We'll put the lock washer and then the nut. Okay, once we've got it started, we need to go back and do our connections on the inside to the terminals. Just push on and push on. Okay. Now we want to start fitting everything back inside the box, keeping the cardboard insulation to the inside. And starting to wiggle things down. And let's go ahead and start tightening up this switch a little bit. Make things more firm. And we Get our assembly all inside. Okay, I'm reaching back in here and giving myself a little extra clearance on those wires. And then we can bring it all home. So it's important on these wires under the switches that you push them back because you'll need the room. And it's important that the insulation is there to protect you. Okay, now we've got the two long screws. They're going to be fishing for their holes underneath. See if we can get the top one. No. Tighten them on home, and we're all set. All right, so there's our hour meter on the back of our pump. One flip of the switch goes on and off on the meter and the switch all at one time. You're all set.